Hi everyone, my name is Kelly and I'm from SALTO Participation and Information Research Center. We are hosted by the Estonian National Agency located in Tallinn. And yeah, you can, or can I use this? Let's try. Okay. So yeah, shortly about the agenda, I'll try to keep in the time frames here. But basically, I'm gonna today just introduce and give an overview of our mission as a SALTO PNI. So from going forwards, a new abbreviation for you, SALTO PNI, SALTO Participation and Information. And then I'm going to introduce some of the tools and resources that are publicly available anytime for all of you. You're very welcome to use them. And then finally, time allowing, I actually would like to also give a brief input about some ongoing mapping projects that we have. Yeah, they're not quite concluded yet, but I managed to get a little intermediate summary from the research teams that we are working with. So might be of interest to some of you, but I'll get to that in the end. So, first of all, the mission of SALTO Participation and Information is, as you can see, that we support the networks and the community of practice. And of course, we work through the Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps programs, but basically, what we're trying to do is to support these stakeholder groups and networks, primarily the national agency network there, to implement the participation in democratic life priorities. So maybe you've heard that it's one of the horizontal priorities of the Erasmus Plus. And we do that by providing quality information on the participation opportunities, reinforcing participation skills, including, but not limited to, critical thinking, media literacy, outreach, digital participation, sort of as kind of areas that we see relevant under this horizontal priority. And of course, in a way, the end game is to foster democratic processes in civil society. So here I just have outlined the fields of action and impact. So yeah, we kind of try to tackle the participation priority through these sort of areas. So of course, very key area for us, very relevant, is youth participation. That's also why we're all here. And maybe to give you a little bit of context as well, is that we started out being like a youth field SALTO, but we are, since the horizontal priority is cross-sectoral, from this year onwards, we are also expanding into the education and training sectors. So we see that there are these opportunities to also now expand the youth participation conceptual work into those sectors. And maybe in that sense, we have built up the youth participation work stream sort of more deeply until now. Then the next one, which is active citizenship and citizenship education. I think we already saw from Dan's earlier presentation that maybe these concepts are not very sort of as separate as we might think. But nonetheless, of course, we try to be mindful of the nuances based on the sectors as well. And then additionally, as I already kind of mentioned, there is the digital participation and media and information literacy work streams that we see that they're connected to the priority, in the sense that, of course, the digital participation is maybe like an up-and-comer more so, as we see that participating in democracy more and more maybe takes place in digital spaces and so on. And it's a whole sort of area of its own, including things like e-voting and the problems around that and whatnot. But so there's that one, and the media and information literacy. Maybe the biggest sort of connection point that at least immediately usually jumps to your people's mind is the critical thinking. So again, we've seen it maybe a little bit painfully through the infodemic recently as well, but definitely critical thinking is something that we need to sort of foster in a democratic setting as well. So the media literacy workstream really goes towards that direction, but not, of course, also only limited to it. And finally, strategic communication and information sharing. So this has more to do with sort of providing support around how to make good initiatives more visible, how to promote practices, also how to do sort of good outreach work. Yep. Okay, so tools and resources. So I will have like a few slides now that I will go a little bit more specific into some of these things that we have to offer that hopefully you will find useful. So the first and foremost is that we have this website called Participation Resource Pool, and it's really, actually the name says it. So it's a pool of resources of different nature that have something to do with participation and very specifically youth participation as well. So Darko, could you actually click on that link and I mean, you will have the presentation, so all the links are there. You will get them. But I just always like to show the actual website so that it becomes a little bit more maybe easy to navigate. So, okay, this is the opening page of the participation pool. And one of the first things maybe that I want to show is if you go up to resources there. Yeah, exactly. So if you hover over it, you can see the resource pool, like the first link there. So you can click. And basically, it's like a search engine, okay? So you can try to search by keyword. Yeah, you can try a keyword, whatever keyword comes to your mind. For example. So then hopefully it finds something, which it does. But maybe more useful is that, yeah, if you scroll down, you can see that there is actually filtering as well. So there is filtering by these sort of different like areas of interest that you might have. There is also a filtering by resource type and target group. So you can, explore this search engine in this through the filters as well. Yeah, there's countries involved and so on. So feel free to go and have a look and use it. I think we can, for now, go back to the presentation. Yeah, and let's move to the next. Oh, I keep forgetting that I have some control here. Okay, and now more specifically, we're gonna kind of jump back into the pool, but then the key document that again was maybe referenced already today is the youth participation strategy. And so this is the core strategic document which is based in relation to other EU strategic documents such as the EU Youth Strategy. If you could click on the link, please. And this is basically also found on the participation pool. Yeah, great. So right on the opening page, yeah. I'm not sure if they followed you, but if you hover over youth participation, then you can see, that there is the option to go to youth participation strategy. And that's the page. And then here you can actually download it. You can scroll down a bit. So there's a little sort of summary text, but in the bottom there are options to download. And the strategy is available in English, German, and French. So the EU languages, at least for now. That's how it is. So yeah, here you can actually download the full one. But all of you actually also got the hard copy, so hopefully you will have a look. Yeah, we can go back to the presentation. Yeah, and to accompany the youth participation strategy, we also have like a textbook, which is called Youth Participation Toolkit. So this is, if you can think of it this way, that if the strategy is like a theoretical strategic document that gives the framework for youth participation, then the toolkit is like a more practical sort of a guiding document that you can use to plan a participatory activity or a participatory project. So again, I really encourage you to have a look. You have your hard copy that you got in your goodie bag, but otherwise, if you're not a hard copy person, then you can go to the participation pool again. And again, if you hover, oh, sorry, yeah, well, actually, I'll show the pathway as well. If you, from the opening page, hover over youth participation, then you can find it that way as well. But again, the links are in the presentation. So here, it's the same logic, right? That you have the, you can scroll down, then you have a little text, and then in the bottom, there is a way to download. And you can also download it module by module, so it's built in this like modular way. Okay, and yeah, you can see that it's also sort of linked to the different activities within the program. So it's especially useful for planning Erasmus Plus or Solidarity Core youth activities or projects. Yeah, we can go back now to the presentation. Thanks. Okay, another one that another interesting web page that can be basically accessed through the participation pool is flagship projects collection, and this is really something we do in order to collect and share good practice examples. So again, if you could just go there. Yeah. Okay, well, actually, let's show it this way. Yeah, well, basically, also on the opening page of participation pool, up there next to resources is this flagship project collection. So you can also, again, the main thing is if you go to participationpool.eu, you can jump to all these different places from there. But here we have, in a bit of a different style, the flagship projects collection. And here it's also kind of a search system that you can filter the different project examples, and this is done with a storytelling method. So basically, every project has is presented like a story, and it's kind of a journalistic sort of style that we have used. So we usually have an interviewer and storyteller who interviews the project makers and puts together this like an inspiring story about it. Usually we also have some testimonials for every project and yeah, some visuals from the project as well. And currently we are finalizing 12 new stories. So very soon there will be some new inspiration added to this page. And also the good news is that for the first time we are including some education and training, so formal education success stories as well. So so keep in touch with this one. Yep, and let's move on. Okay, and related to inspiring practices and projects also is the SALTO Awards campaign, which is actually something that has become more of a SALTO network campaign in the recent years. Meaning that it's not only about SALTO participation and information resource centers, thematic work areas, but we have sort of broadened it. So in the early days, I think the first edition of SALTO Awards was really SALTO P&I Awards, meaning that it was really just sort of run by us, this campaign, and it was basically we were collecting nominations of good project practices in the categories of our own work streams. So about youth participation, also about media literacy and so on. But then other SALTO centers jumped on board, and by now we have managed to actually expand it enough so that quite a big part of the network has been on board with this campaign. And as a result, this is especially about not only participation projects and practices, but it has become also about the other horizontal priorities. So this year we had categories of project nominations in participation in democratic life, but also the environmental sustainability category, and inclusion and diversity, as well as the digital transformation category. So yeah, it's a bit broader, but nonetheless could be useful. And I will ask Darko to lead us to the website. So this is not participationpool.eu, it's a separate website, because as I said, it's a bit of a wider campaign. But on this website, you can actually, you can discover this year's winners. So, well, you can actually watch the ceremony if you want. There was a nice ceremony we had in October in Lublin, in Poland. But otherwise, yeah, you can see that by category, we have created a little summaries with the links to the projects. So for each category, there is the winner and the finalists and their links. So this is these are really short summaries here, but you get the links if you want to explore more about these projects here. Yeah. Thank you, Darko. I think that might have been the last link, so you're off. But yeah. But okay, so. I guess I'll still have a little bit of time. So as I said, in the last part, I will give a little input from some ongoing mapping and gapping projects that we are currently sort of concluding. So first, I will talk a little bit about the media literacy and digital participation mapping. And you can see the aim was to sort of better understand how these topics were incorporated into the programs in all fields, so youth and all the education and training fields during the period of 21 to 22. The target groups were national agencies, and yeah, for those of you who are not so familiar with the abbreviations, just FYI that if you see NAs, that's national agencies, and some stakeholder organizations. So we had a mix of stakeholder organizations in terms of the themes, so organizations that work on media literacy and digital participation as such, as topics or as themes, but also some organizations and networks that were more sort of field-based, like the Erasmus Student Network and so on. So for the data collection, we did surveying and focus group interviews of these target groups. And also, as part of this project, was to map these relevant projects in the Erasmus Plus and Solidarity Core project results databases. So meaning projects that had to do with these topics of media literacy and digital participation. And yeah, right now, basically, the data collection is completed. We still are finishing some of the focus group interviews, and the analysis and report writing will be done in December. So just that's the status. So this is not a concluded mapping project, as I said. And now maybe of interest would be this intermediate summary. So it seems what we can say now at this current stage is that we found some similarities across the fields. Across the fields, meaning for youth and the ENT, education and training fields. So we see that the media literacy and digital participation topics are seen sort of moderately important for across the fields. They were seen maybe less important or like slightly important for participation in democratic life, so the horizontal priority of participation. And finally, so media literacy was evaluated as slightly less incorporated into Erasmus Plus compared to digital participation topic. And in the brackets you can see sort of the scores, so 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 versus 2.5 out of 5. And the differences that we kind of see now is that it's to do with the digital spaces. So the youth national agencies perceived that there is maybe more work on improvements needed in the Erasmus Plus program in terms of cooperation and networking in the digital spaces, whereas actually the education and training national agencies were more satisfied with that. I mean, the difference isn't huge, as you can see, but nonetheless, this was a difference that was kind of identified. Now, of course, we can kind of speculate why that is. Maybe the bar is higher for youth national agencies. That maybe is my intuition. I don't know, but this is, yeah, all I mean is that it's a little bit sort of difficult to also compare these because maybe the expectations are quite different based on the fields as well. But nonetheless, it might be interesting to know. And then some of the gaps that we identified were that, of course, these media literacy and digital participation topics could be better related to the participation priority, which is very good food for thought for us. That they are not maybe readily seen as sort of directly connected with participating in democratic life. And also that these EU programs could be more effective than at incorporating these topics. So in some way that it would be good that if they're there, but if they are there, then they should be there more effectively. And yeah, finally, just to highlight some of these like sort of subtopics of the topics that we looked into. So in media literacy for the future, we see that the 3 sort of main topics of interest under media literacy are safer internet, critical thinking, and middle and human rights. And for the digital participation, the topics of interest are digital citizenship and society, and participatory tools and spaces, and online decision-making processes and approaches. And these are then, yeah, you know, in the order of importance, as you can see the percentages there. Okay, so now I'm gonna give a little input from another mapping and gapping project, which is, Dan is here, he is one of the researchers working on this. So I'm sure over coffee break you can also ask him more about it. But yeah, the aim of this one, so this is a mapping and gapping we did that involves the education and training national agencies. And so yeah, this is not covering all the fields, but for us it was very relevant to do it for the education and training side because maybe we lack more knowledge there, having been a youth SALTO primarily until now. So the aim of this one was to understand actually the needs and practices around the participation priority. And I mean, it's written out here, the priority, that's actually the long name. So yeah, target group, as I said, is the ENT national agencies. And the data collection, similarly, surveying and focus group interviews. And right now, the collection is completed, analysis is finishing, and also the final report we will be getting in December. So that's the status. And here we have some of the main challenges. So as you can see, for the education and training national agencies, the topic of participation, or this priority, participation in democratic life, it's really wide. So that's something that they struggle with. And also through the NAs, the voice of the beneficiaries came through, that they struggle also to kind of work with it more concretely or more tangibly. And yeah, it is comparatively harder to get stakeholders on board or interested maybe to work on this topic. It means that maybe there are other aspects in the programs or other themes that are sort of more easily sold to the stakeholders. But I mean, I think that we can see that these are connected. So the wideness of the priority also makes it hard to make a clear point about it to stakeholders. And uncertainty around how exactly then we should talk about it and address it to have it sort of focused enough. So the main needs that were identified among the education and training NAs were that they could benefit from events, also resources that help to sort of link up the fields, which is, I think, what we're doing here now. So that's already progress made, I hope. Also, a need is to learn from each other, to have these peer learning and sharing exchange opportunities, to have more training on the topic. So still there is this conceptual understanding or need for better conceptual understanding. What goes along with the peer sharing, of course, is the networking amongst the NA officers who then work in turn with beneficiaries. And both the NAs themselves and the beneficiaries need to improve their understanding of this priority and the concepts around it. The main practices, so currently it looks like what is a very major channel for education and training NAs is the TCA, LTA sort of type of activities. So TCA is training and cooperation activities, and LTA is long-term. Is it long-term activities? I think. Yeah. So just for you who don't know the abbreviation, sorry for that. So those are the most common practices currently. How they kind of tackle or deal with this participation topic. Also, there are, of course, national and local level events for beneficiaries. We already heard also some good practices earlier about it that would go under here. What was identified additionally was that there is actually some confusion between the sort of subtopic of digital participation versus digital sort of transformation at large or digital skills. Which is not really quite the same thing. When we talk about digital participation, we don't just talk about digital skills or competences in general. So there is some confusion around that. And because of that, again, maybe the digital participation topic is a bit of a sort of left out or left on its own and not incorporated as much.